This evening's editorial is with Latoya Halstead, the Director of Communications at the Consumer Affairs Commission. And this evening, she'll be sharing information on the COVID-conscious consumer, food security, waste disposal, and money management. Ms. Halstead, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for allowing us to speak with consumers this evening.
Okay, so what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is World Consumer Rights Day, World Consumer Rights Week, and the fact that the activities surrounding this period is celebrated, observed, and carried out throughout the rest of the year. The overall theme for Consumers International, which is the larger consumer body with 250 members, is actually tackling plastic pollution. However, as we all know, Jamaica, as per usual, is right out front. We're already there. So we decided to meet consumers where they are, and that is why we're looking at the COVID-conscious consumer, where we're looking at issues pertaining to food security, money management, and waste disposal.
Ms. Halstead, I know, I'm sure you're aware that a lot of people have found themselves in, bad financial straits because of COVID. What basic, simple tips could you give our audience as to how to handle some of the more common issues that you come across?
Believe it or not, the first step is making a budget. When we look at the pandemic and the situation that just seems to keep unfolding, the first thing that we encourage consumers to do is to cut the unnecessary bills. You have subscription to certain services. You have certain perks that you usually enjoyed prior to COVID. You can cut those out and, in a sense, re-engineer your income. If you're having difficulty with payments, please contact your institution. Don't let them contact you. Contact them first, have the conversation, see how you can create better ways of managing your payments, or even getting, in a sense, holidays, and keep them abreast at all times of what is happening. Right now, you also see offers going out for loans and other financial packages. We would just caution consumers to be careful, because at the end of the day, you need to read the fine print, see what is there, because many of these persons or institutions, what they're doing is targeting those who they know have a steady income. So right now, it might seem attractive, but in the long run, you might say, if only I had read a little bit more, inquired, asked. So that is what we're encouraging consumers to do.
Yeah, you talk about consumers being careful, but you're also telling us that the need for consumer protection has increased since COVID-19. How so?
It has increased because the reality is many consumers, they're in survival mode. They're not thinking about their rights, and I should caution, rights come with responsibilities. So in terms of how consumers can protect themselves, it's knowing about their rights. They have the right to information. If you have enough information, you can make informed decision that will benefit you. You have a right to choose. Don't just accept any and anything. The fact is, as a consumer, if you decide that this item, it does not meet my needs, I can walk away from it. In addition to that, vendors have a right and responsibility to tell consumers exactly what the items are for. Consumers must disclose what it is that they need the item to do, so you can have the item that you want.
Right, but in terms of prices, we hear that some people have been complaining about exorbitant prices. What can the Consumer Affairs Commission do about that?
Exorbitant prices within the context of, is it market-driven? The fact is, we do live in a market-driven economy. So if it is an item that, for example, let's go to agricultural products. The prices of those items, they are driven essentially by season. Now, if you're talking about items or products, rather, that you perhaps see that in one area you can get it, for example, $1, the next you find it at $20. Obviously, you're going to buy at the one that says $1. Yeah. But if you have issues about price gouging, we encourage you, report it to the Consumer Affairs Commission.
Yeah, so I understand the concept of shopping around, but what I wanted to get to was this new bill that was approved, the trade sale of goods during period of declaration disaster era that the government introduced to deal with price gouging. I mean, how does that help consumers?
Which is why I am asking consumers if they observe items at exorbitant and the definition really and truly when it comes to that act. The fact is, if you have an item that is usually being sold, say, for example, $500, right? Now, if the manufacturer, rather the distributor, increases the price, and then that is that goes to the consumer, but it is based on the cost of raw materials and additional factors. That is why the price goes up. Then guess what? That's not price gouging. However, if you see that item and you see it for, say, $1,500, and we investigate and see that it is not a matter of the manufacturing costs that is attributed to this, then there is an issue. We have to investigate.
Ms. Halstead, I just want to touch on the issue of food security as well. At the beginning of this, my wife and I, we did plant a small garden in the back, nothing ridiculous. And the thing is, I got most of the stuff from the Bauxite Institute at very good prices. Now, it's just a little bit of onions, tomatoes, nothing huge because it's a small patio space. However, what resources can you recommend to the average person as to how to get such foodstuffs to grow themselves and the availability of those within their area?
You had RADA, who was offering seedlings. There was also the 4-H Club, who also offers seedlings. And you can also obtain these from garden stores. And believe it or not, we can also go back to old time days. You notice when you throw out some seeds, for example, if you've eaten melon and you just throw it out, and depending on where it lands, it might just grow. So I'm encouraging consumers. For example, you mentioned tomatoes. You can actually, the tomato that you buy, you can actually set that so that the seeds can grow from it. So in terms of the sustainability of it, we have lost that as a nation. I just encourage us to go back to it.
In terms of filing complaints, some consumers don't know what to do. They go to a store, they see signs that say no exchange, no refund. Is that legal? Well, what do you do? You take the item home and you start working?
Believe it or not, the Consumer Protection Act is the act that speaks to what guides the interaction between consumers and vendors. So when you see those signs in stores, my advice to consumers, walk away. If you are getting that from the get-go, you know that customer service might not be what it is that you would be looking forward to if something should go wrong with the item. The Consumer Protection Act says once there is an issue with a product or item that you have purchased, you have a right to redress. Let me point out, however, that redress is 3 R's. First, they'll try to repair it. If it cannot be repaired, then it's exchanged. If it cannot be exchanged, then you get a refund. That is the process.
The price of food during COVID-19, there's been lots of discussion over the last couple of days about how much food has gone up by. I know that you do surveys of that, but what can you tell us about the price movement for food over the last year?
Well, generally, what I can say is that the survey, as it relates to the basket of critical items, it has not shown food items going up over 100%. That I can say. It, however, does not say that the prices have not increased, but I can say it has not gone over 100%.
Are you able to tell us what level?
Go ahead.
Are you able to tell us what level, quickly?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, it seems that we're having some problems discussing you. But thanks so much for joining us. Latoya Halstead from the Consumer Affairs Commission.
And we switch focus now with social media with Cleo Anderson.